Today, I'd like to discuss student loan debt forgiveness for disabled borrowers and the update that was made by the Department of Education on August 19th, 2021. Over 323,000 borrowers who have a total and permanent disability will receive more than $5.8 billion in automatic student loan discharge due to a new regulation announced by the Department of Education on August 19th, 2021. On August 19, 2021, there was 3 changes announced by the Department of Education in reference to total permanent disability discharge for student loans. What changed on August 19, 2021? The first change, borrowers who had a total and permanent disability will receive more than $5.8 billion in automatic student loan discharge due to the new regulations announced by the Department of Education. The Department of Education will start identifying borrowers through an existing data match with the Social Security Administration. It will begin with the September 2021 quarterly match with SSA. This change removes the requirements for borrowers to fill out an application before receiving relief. Now, prior to this change, if you were on SSA and you were totally permanently disabled and you wanted to seek getting your student loans discharged, your federal student loans discharged, you actually had to fill out a form, take it to your physician, have them fill it out and send it back. And if like something was wrong with the form or the physician didn't meet the criteria or something else, you would actually get the application returned to you and you had to start the process all over again. Well, not the whole process, whatever was missing, you would have to send in a bunch of documentation to prove that you were disabled. With this new change, they're going to verify with SSA if you're disabled, and if you're disabled according to SSA, they're going to take that for what it is. Because if the Social Security Administration approved you for disability, they are also going to approve you for disability for your student loan discharge. And in 2019, the Department of Education removed this same application barrier for borrowers identified as eligible through the match with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. But at that time, they had not administrated it or put this in place with SSA. So this right here is a big change. So that way, if you ever do become disabled, or if your parents have got a student loan and they are currently disabled and receiving SSA, you do not have to go through that rigorous process like before we had to fill out the application. So this will automatically put people in line to have their student loans discharged as soon as they become disabled and start receiving SSA. The second change, the Department of Education will indefinitely extend the policy announced in March of 2021 to stop asking borrowers to provide information on their earnings. This process resulted in the reinstatement of loans if and when borrowers did not respond beyond the end of the national emergency. When loans get discharged through TPD, what happens is there's a 3-year conditional period where they monitor you for your income. During this time period, a person may lose their discharge if their earnings are above a certain threshold, or they do not respond to requests for earnings information. And the majority of the reinstated discharge loans actually have been because of missing documentation and not due to someone's income being too high. So what they did was they suspended this because too many of the loans that are being reinstated for TPD were to borrowers that couldn't pay the loans because they really were disabled. But the only thing that they didn't do was send in proof of earnings again when they were requested for. So they put a suspension on this. Now the third change is the department will begin to pursue the elimination of the 3-year monitoring period required under current regulation during the negotiated rulemaking that will begin in October. Under the current regulation, a borrower who receives a TPD discharge through the SSA match or by filling out the physician's certification process is subject to the 3-year income monitoring period. And like I stated before, a majority of the reinstated discharge loans have been due to missing documentation and not due to income being too high. So what they're trying to do is eliminate that process altogether, because what they have found based upon the analysis that they have done, that the majority of the ones that they're reinstating were for people that were truly still disabled, but because they forgot to send in their earnings, or just didn't respond to a letter requesting the earnings, their loans ended up getting reinstated, and then they had to go through this whole process all over again. So they're trying to eliminate that process. In 2019, the Department of Education removed the application barrier for borrowers identified as eligible for total permanent disability discharge through the match with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, but they had not implemented it on verification with SSA. Now, the Department of Education received many comments requesting that the rule be expanded to include similar benefits for those identified through SSA data match, and as a result, the 8/19/2021, today's regulation, was issued in response to that request. Now, what happens if you're not a veteran and on disability, or you have not been approved for SSA, and you still believe that you're eligible for permanent disability discharge on your student loans? If you're not a veteran receiving disability or on SSA for disability, you can also qualify for a TPD discharge by having a physician certify on the TPD discharge application that you're unable to engage in substantial gainful activity due to a mental or physical impairment that can be expected to result in death, has lasted for a continuous period of at least 60 months, and or can be expected to last for a continuous period of at least 60 months. The physician who certifies your TPD discharge application must be a doctor of medicine, which is an MD, or a doctor of osteopathic or osteopathy medicine, DO, and who is licensed to practice in the United States. Now, substantial gainful employment activity is a level of work performed for pay or profit that involves doing significant physical or mental activities, or a combination of both. So what will happen is, if you believe that you're eligible for the discharge, but you're not receiving disability through the VA or SSA, you can fill out an application instead. Now, if you do need to fill out a TPD discharge application because you don't qualify under Veterans Affairs or under SSI process, you would fill out a form. You need to fill out the application and send it along with the required documentation of your eligibility to Nelnet. The TPD discharge application applies to all your federal student loans and Teach Grant Service Obligation. The application for the TPD discharge can be found on the TPD discharge website at disabilitydischarge.com, and you would select application process to start the process. Now, I would like to state that Nelnet currently assists the Department of Education in administering the TPD discharge process, and they oversee the Teach Grant Service Obligation discharge. So that's why your information, you will be sending it to them, because they're overseeing that process for the Department of Education. Now, I hope that you found all the information that I provided today useful, and if you are applying for the discharge for disability, you should contact Nelnet to let them know, so that way if you are currently in repayment, which most people aren't because of COVID right now, the payments are being postponed, but if you're watching this video after COVID and you're applying for the disability discharge, you should contact Nelnet. I'll provide a number listed below and a link to their website or their email address. You should contact them so that way you can get your student loan payments postponed for up to 120 days while you go through the application process. I do hope you found this information useful, and if you can please like and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, I do hope that you have a great day, a blessed day, and take care of yourself. Thank you, and have a good day.